Greetings everyone and welcome to Azure Back to School session focused on FinOps in Azure by looking into budgets, alerts, and AI twist into the FinOps related work that you are trying to accomplish. Before jumping into the session, I want to say a big thank you for everyone who gathered to watch this session, and as well as remind them that if you watch it as a recorded session, please put your questions in the comments, and you can also reach to me through the LinkedIn or X platform. I want to say a big thank you for the organizers of this event as they are doing this back to back for a couple of years. And I'm also honored and humbled to prepare and be part of this great event. So if you want, you can also check the event website and get familiar with other sessions. Be part of this great cause to start your learning during the Azure Back to School season. Without any overdue, we are going to look into different ways how it could be done, and let's jump into the session. Small information about myself as a speaker, Microsoft MVP, and Microsoft Certified Trainer Community Lead. I'm here to help you if you would like to get upskilled, and as well as if you have any questions regarding some of the products and services that I'm going to present about, feel free to get in touch with me and put your questions. Again, you can contact me through LinkedIn or through the X platform. You are also welcome to visit the cloudmarathoner.com blogs, where I blog about sessions. Some of them I'm moderating and some of them I'm presenting for different communities across the world. More, if you would like to get connected, don't be shy. Let's get connected on LinkedIn and as well as on X platform. Now let's look into what we are going to cover in this session. First, we'll start with the why and what's of the FinOps. Then we'll continue on how you can do certain things in with FinOps and why, and what's the approach there. After that, we'll look into what are the differences and usages of FinOps in Azure, what you can utilize in Microsoft Azure platform, and then we'll look into how AI agents can help you with FinOps operations, and we'll look into different approaches that you can use. And I'm going to provide you some hands-on approach in not just understanding the concepts, but also learning how to do that. Okay, let's look into whys and what's of the FinOps. First of all, why it is important, right? Why FinOps is here and what are the value. FinOps helps this a lot with the cloud cost in terms of understanding that and managing that. As you know, in cloud, the cost of the services and workloads that you are running may differ. It's going to change over time. And part of the FinOps is to find the framework or the approach where you can get much more predictable and manageable approach in pricing your workloads and giving this feedback information to your customers. So next is immediate procurement of resources. As we know, in the cloud environment, resources can be procured in no time because that's the part of the cloud infrastructure where once you have the your credit card or payment information, you and your customers can provision the resources. But part of it is that once this provisioned, again, how to manage that efficiently, what type of guardrails needs to be in place, what are the financial operation guidelines that needs to be guarded. So that's where FinOps came. And finally, we are all looking into some micro allocation of costs because your environment might be very complex and you want to allocate certain budget for certain workloads and certain projects. And then you need to do that in a way that you can track it, you can provide feedback to your customers, and you can improve it over time. And when we look at what it is, basically FinOps is a framework, as we mentioned already, and that framework provides different capabilities for collaborating and optimizing work that's being done in the cloud environment. through this same framework of FinOps, you raise the cost visibility, where spends happens, which resources utilize, what type of budget, and as well as you bring the accountability so that teams that are spending the most, they are aware about the spend and they know where those, where's the most of the credits are going. Another good part about FinOps and this framework is that it provides real-time decision making to leadership that needs to make decision in terms of where they want to put their investment, so that company can allocate and see in real time where spend happens, if there's a return on that investment, and if they want to prioritize which type of, and as well as what type of workloads they want to prioritize for company growth. In addition to that, there's a big part of the FinOps is standardization, and standardization across the cloud environments has a common approach or common tool and framework that is used widely. That's called Focus framework, and Focus stands for bringing the unified format for cloud billing data, or if you untangle the Focus, it stands for FinOps, Open Cost, and User Specifications. And this framework provides organization with consistent, clear, and accessible view of their cost, of their data, data that explicitly designed for FinOps needs, such as allocations, analytics, monitoring, and as well as optimization. And of course, part of the standardization comes with the governance, where good understanding of controls are in place to make sure that the people who or the role that has specific authorization to do the provisioning or the commissioning of resources is governed well, changes are documented, and as well as there is no surprise or so to speak rogue resources appear in the environment. Now, once we understand that, let's look at house of the FinOps. So in FinOps model, we have different concepts, and one of the practical, when we talk about house of the FinOps, we are talking about practical approach to the process from the day one, and there's also a twist into that with adoption in the middle. So as you see on the graph on the left side, first you start with inform, which is basically awareness, understanding your environment, understanding what is, what are the workloads, why they are running, what's their criticality, and all the aspects of the financial, awareness of the workload. And then you look at allocation for each specific workload, for each specific project, what's the allocation, so that you get this good understanding through this assessment and awareness. Next comes the optimization, and basically here we are talking about efficiency, and we are focusing on resource utilization and reducing the waste by enabling savings. And savings are something that over time, when the nature of your workloads change, different saving opportunities can come, and there should be timely assessment of workloads and the efficiency there should be timely assessment of workloads to understand what are the new opportunities to bring new savings. There are different ways to do that. In addition to reserved instances, there is saving options and plans, and each cloud solution provider has different tools to identify them and as well as utilize them accordingly. And next we have operate stage, which is the governance and accountability on the cost. And this is about tracking the usage and building governance of the resources. And then we have adoption, and adoption is it's a pillar that stays in the middle. It's across all programs, and when you have adoption, you want to make sure that the approach of your organization or your approach to solving the FinOps related challenges are scaling, and you can apply them to different programs that you are involved or your organization is involved. In our case, T-Rex applies this adoption across different education and training programs where we are providing efficient solutions to our customers. And of course, you want to foster some cost-conscious culture across the stakeholders within the organization as well as within the projects, where you can build on top of momentum of education and letting the teams to take the advantage of FinOps framework by optimizing and bringing the savings to the system owners. So where to start with FinOps and where to start specifically when we talk about Azure, there are different ways. One way is you can look into Azure FinOps assessment, which is part of the assessment toolkit that you can get. Next, by using this assessment, you can understand different maturity levels of the of the operations and identify the gaps so that you can address them through plans and resolve those issues. And then, of course, once you have them, you wanna and you let's say apply certain changes based on FinOps best practices. You wanna make sure that those changes are done first in lower environment. You see the efficiency, you see the cost savings, and then you gradually move that to the production. And that would basically part of this approach where you introduce the change in a small chunkable sizes, and then you capitalize that and then move to the production workloads to bring the bigger gains to your customers, bigger savings to your program. And you want to make sure that any change that you do, they do not bring any performance issues, and your customers will not suffer as part of these FinOps optimizations that you're introducing. So as part of this FinOps understanding, awareness, and processes, T-Rex can help you in those challenges. We are managing a number of different cloud programs across different customers, and we build our approach on assessment. Then we, upon good understanding of the environment, we move toward automating FinOps processes. And then once automation is there, we accelerate the journey for understanding FinOps and utilizing all the benefits that it brings. And finally, this brings efficiency and optimization to your clouds, to your data centers, where you operate workloads for your organization or for your customers. We have FinOps in Azure, and when we talk about FinOps in Azure, it's basically utilizing all those core concepts that are available in the FinOps. Mainly, we are talking about visibility into cost and spend. We talk about accountability. We are talking about the governance tools and policies that you can put in place. We are talking about cost management and different tools and guardrails you can put there to manage the cost effectively. And of course, part of it is also having a capable monitoring and tracking tools across different budget allocations. And once you have these insights, having this data to act upon and start cost optimization for your customers. FinOps is evolving with new capabilities of AI tools and agents. And when we talk about AI agents, they are autonomous systems that perceive, decide, and act in dynamic environments, and they can handle easily repetitive, data-intensive FinOps tasks with minimal human input. And when we talk about key FinOps challenges, we are talking about unpredictable cloud spend that needs to be understood. We are talking about resource waste and over provisioning, and then how to automate manual reporting and bring tagging and resolve those issues with tagging inconsistencies across resources where you want to get accurate spend, and it also helps with forecasting of the budgets. And when we introduce AI agent use cases with FinOps, we are basically bringing automated cost anomaly detection, which detect and alert on unusual cloud spending all those patterns in real time. We are talking about dynamic resource optimization, where auto-resizing, scaling, or shutting down unused resources are part of the process. With smart forecasting and budgeting, we are looking into historical and usage trends and data that collected to improve accuracy. And with policy enforcements via agent, we are ensuring that cost savings rules like tag compliance, instance limits are enforced automatically. And all this basically brings benefits which are increasing the operational efficiency, improves the cloud financial accountability, and reduce the manual effort and human errors. And finally, when we talk about the tools and ecosystem examples, within Azure FinOps Toolkit, you can use cost management and AI integration. That's part of it. We can also use open source AI FinOps agents like FinOps Foundation project. So now we are in the GitHub repo that you can go and check another session that has been recorded, FinOps in Azure. I highly recommend to check this where I'm speaking and sharing those details with my colleague, Jason Keplinger. You can also get a lot of good stuff from here. You can click on this session here and you should be able to watch this session as well. So in this demo, we are going to look into cost management in Microsoft Azure platform. We'll look into smart views and all these bullet items that you see. So let's switch now to our Azure portal. And first, what we are going to do, we are going to navigate within our subscription. I navigated to the cost management and I clicked on cost analysis. And under cost analysis, I see that I have some spend going on for the last 3 months. Of course, you can use different filters here to get better understanding. And in this case, the view that you see is the cost by service. You can also turn it for a daily cost, or you can also turn it to the cost by resource. Okay, let me make sure I refresh my authentication here. Okay, and we are back. So here's the different view to that. So where we were, we looked into cost by service. And we want to look at last 3 invoices. That's where we are. And we have columns stacked. We can also put that columns as grouped. In addition to that, you get the view of each service name, where cost happens, as well as locations and resource group names. And you can also group this information based on different filters that are available here. You can group them, for example, by resources, which will give you more idea about each resource and their utilization over time. Next here, let's look at cost management from different views. So if you go and type here cost management, you should be able, okay, I need to authenticate myself here. And here you need to select the subscription that you want to look into that. And once you are in cost management, you need to navigate to the cost analysis. Okay, so here under cost analysis, you should be able to navigate here. And then once you are there, you have different views. You can click on all views where you can see the different views that are available to you. We have reports that we can look into resource based on resource group, based on resources, or we can also have customizable views based on cost by resource, cost by service, or accumulated cost. If you would like, you can also add a tab. For example, here, if you want to have different views on this first one, let's say we want to get a view by resource group. Here we'll get resource group names and view. Next, you can add another tab here. And then in all views, we can look into, for example, we can look here cost by resource. And I want to show you that here, based on this cost by resource, you can have different views. This visualization is done based on the tabular format, which is great if you need to get exact details. But if you are looking for visualization, you can change this by, making sure you can change. And then, of course, the information that you have, you can group them based on different filters that we have here available. For example, if you want to group them by resource type, that's one way to do that. And then you can also have options to group them by different service name, by different service tiers, and the tags of the services. Next, let's look at experts. So here on cost management, you have an option for the experts. So let's look at experts now. If we navigate to a new tab and here again go to the cost management, we should be able to see experts. In my case, I have experts for the subscription, but if I change the subscription here, for the other subscription, I don't enable any cost expert. So what is cost expert? It's basically if you need your financial data gathered so that you can export that to a different tool, and there are many different tools for that purpose, you can create by clicking on create, you can go through this wizard and create the expert. And what it does is basically it enables you to have daily, monthly, or quarterly export of the data from given scope where you want that export to happen. In my case, scope is the single subscription that I have here, and I had two experts here. So where did these experts go? I have a specific storage account here where all the export is flowing. So if you go and check this storage account, I'm going to navigate to that storage account. So let me go to storage accounts. And here I have this MCT billing data, that storage account. It has a container name that should be the export data. And here when I navigate, that's the MCT subscription that I have here. And then I have costs that has been getting gathered here. So this is the monthly cost for the August month that get export here that I can again export that billing data into a third-party tool for better analysis. Maybe financial people in your organization is that you can provide that data. Next, we want to look at cost alerts. So to look at cost alerts, can go again back to cost management, and you can look at alert rules. For this subscription, it looks like I need to change this. Now we are in cost management, and let's look at cost alerts. These cost alerts I already have. Let's switch here subscription to the one where I have more data. So here I have this budget alert for a given subscription, and what it is basically tell me that there's a specific budget of 81 and it's actually $75, right? And I want to get these cost alerts whenever actual is greater than 50%. You can look at the budget itself, which is defined here, and you can get some thresholds set it up. If you want to edit that, you have an option to edit. But if you would like to add another cost alert, you just need to click on, go through this wizard and set up another cost alert that you can use. Next here, let's look at optimization section of cost management. And you have advisor, reserved, hybrid instances, and saving plans. I want to mention that for saving plans, you need to make sure that you have enterprise agreement or MCA in place. Otherwise, it's not going to be accessible for you. For Azure Advisor recommendations, currently across all active subscriptions, I don't have any recommendations. However, you can get those recommendations by looking into that tab. Next, I want to switch here. I'm going to go back to cost management. And then we'll look into cost analysis. And we can look at, cost by service. Okay. And let's say we want to ask some questions. We want to get some insights about alerts about the cost. To do that, one way is to activate the Copilot. And if in your organization that button or that feature is not in there, then you need to ask your administrator to give you a specific role so that you can use Copilot for Azure for your purposes. So in order to continue here, let's put a question here, and our question is, which resources make up the most of my total monthly cost? And while it is going to look into that, I'll be muted. Okay, after approximately half a minute or so, we got a response that to compare the cost of your resources, I would need to specify two dimensions, such as different resource types or regions, or different two time periods. So I would say identify top cost resources by type. Here's a suggestion on a follow-up for this. So it took another half a minute or so, and we are back, and we still didn't get anything. So let me change the question here and ask, analyze cost change over the past quarter, right? So we are getting response now, and this is much more actionable resource based on this output that we got. So what I see here is that it tells me that on this specific subscription where I am, there was increase in price for July month, and it was close to 6%. And this is the table where below it's basically comparing the cost, which could be handful if you are using that. And then, of course, part of it, you may ask, how can I reduce my Azure cost? And let's ask this question. So it can be, do I need to pick specific resources? I say no, just, show me where I can reduce the cost. So I got some list of recommendations here where it's talking about for certain resources that I'm using, and I can act upon it. Let's say part of it, if you want to improve your cost for better performance, let's ask a different question, namely let's ask, how can I optimize my Azure resources for better performance? And here, if you have a specific resource name, you can put the name. In my case, I want to get overall picture. And I got 5 of the recommendations to act upon, where some of them are talking about upgrading from standard to premium tier, which of course will cost you more. But if you are looking for performance, usually performance comes with higher SKU services, depending where you are. Not always, but usually if you are trying to get higher performance, it means you need to look into the service plan and SKUs of the resources. And finally, let's ask a question: how can I improve the security of my Azure environment and subscription? Azure resources in MCT subscription. And to be specific, we may want to put the exact name. We can put primary MCT Azure subscription. So we are targeting one subscription. You may have a couple of them, as I do in this tenant. So you want to be more specific when you put instructions for Copilot. So we got some recommendations here about the ports of virtual machines, TLS type for the web app, some Azure Disk Encryption, and some other good stuff that could be a good follow-up for you to make it better. So before switching over, I want to show you that here under the budget alerts, so we have monitoring and we have this. Let's look at budgets. Yes, so under budget alerts, I have two alerts. So one of them is demo budget. This is across the subscription, which has this $150 budget, and another one is for Linux project cost. What it is basically I'm doing this against the resource group. So for example, if you have a resource group, let's look into that resource group, for example. So this is the resource group. And if I look at cost analysis of this resource group, you would see that for the last 3 months, I have some spend, and I want to see it by services. And as you see, there is some spend happening. And if you want to make sure that you get notified if this specific workload under the resource group where you are deployed all the resources is, hitting upper limit of your budget, you can go and set up the budget. So I hope, this kind of makes sense for you and you can use some of good practice from here. Let's switch to our slides now. So what we covered, we went through why and what's of the FinOps. Then we look into how you can start using the FinOps framework and how you can get the benefits. Then we look into specific examples of FinOps in Azure environment. Then we look into AI agents in FinOps. And finally, we looked into several demos to demonstrate. And finally, we looked into several demos that were demonstrating FinOps capabilities in Microsoft Azure. Now, if you want to continue learning about FinOps and how to implement that in Azure, I have a couple of learning references here that you can follow up with. Namely, you can look into Focus framework as it is in Microsoft Azure, and as well as the Focus framework is in FinOps Foundation. I also highly recommend you to check out the Cloud Marathoner YouTube channel to look at some FinOps related videos to get your learning started. That's it. Thank you for being on this session with me till the end. Thank you, organizers of Azure Back to School. So thank you for being on this session with me till the end and watching this. I hope you find it helpful. If you have any questions, please reach out back to me on LinkedIn platform or on X. And as well as, like and subscribe this video and put your comments there. And also please check the descriptions. I will put the slides of this website into the GitHub repo so that you can click on those links if you are not watching from your mobile device and you don't, so that you can easily access those resources. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy learning. Bye.